We begin this hour with the crisis at our southern border. 5 suspected members of a drug cartel found armed while trying to illegally cross into Texas this week. Authorities say 2 had rifles and that they were traveling with several juveniles that some said looked terrified.
Yeah, if we drop that banner, you can see the rifles are at the bottom. In New York City, officials are prepping an old warehouse at JFK Airport to be used as a temporary shelter for up to 1,000 illegals. The plan still needs government approval.
Yeah, and all of this is nothing as compared to what's happening in the state of California, where the state Senate approved a plan to pay unemployed illegal immigrants up to $300 a week. Democrats justifying the program, saying, quote, due to historic racial exclusions, many of the California's most vulnerable workers are entirely excluded from the program. The bill is expected to pass the Assembly. Governor Gavin Newsom has not said if he'll sign it into law. So unemployed, illegal, $1,200 a month, $300 a week. Welcome to America.
Welcome to America.
Well,
get across the border, get to California, don't get a job, get paid.
Well, or you could self-identify as an illegal immigrant and not work in California, I suppose. I mean, this is outrageous, the amount of money that they're getting. Why wouldn't every illegal immigrant go to California?
Yeah, well, they can also get a driver's license, from what I understand. There are also pushes in certain places in California for them to be able to vote. So what is citizenship worth?
Nothing.
It's worth nothing. I mean, it's a revelation of how the modern Democrat Party, when it's laid bare, it doesn't care about sovereignty, it doesn't care about borders, it doesn't care about citizenship. They're globalists completely under the name of compassion, which means who do they leave behind? Law-abiding, tax-paying citizens who get.
That's a great point. That's what it totally washes away the distinction between citizenship and illegality. It totally takes away the privileges of citizenship and hands all the same rights over to someone that's illegal. And then on the flip side of that, creates a moth to a flame effect. And what kind of incentive? I'll answer my own rhetorical question. A massive incentive for someone living in, say, El Salvador on who knows what type of daily wage for very hard work to go to America where they're giving you the promise of $300 a week for not working.
Yeah. It's really perverse. Now, it is backfiring a little bit. So in Chicago, I just interviewed a man named Andre who is really upset. In fact, he was staging a protest against the $50 million that is being used in the city of Chicago to house illegal immigrants in that community. He said he was protesting. They arrested him, which is interesting what you get arrested for in Chicago these days.
Not for crossing the border illegally, but for trying to tell the story.
Yeah, tell the story and say, hey, why are they getting $50 million? What about us? He's actually calling for this, and this is a self-proclaimed liberal. He's calling for an end to sanctuary cities. And by the way, this is the second tranche of money that has been given towards illegal immigration. So now he is calling for a forensic audit because he wants to know, where is this money going? He talked about an American citizen, homeless person who had her legs amputated because she was out in the cold and froze almost to death. So he's saying we have so many needs in this city for poor people. Why is this money going to illegals who have chosen to come here by their own accord and are now, as you said, well, being rewarded for it financially?
Absolutely. Here's some of what Chicago residents are saying about this incentive.
We have in Chicago $160 million that was spent for the migrants with no records, no plan. And now we finna spend $51 million that was passed at city council with no record, no plan for 500 migrants for 30 days. I'm calling for a sanctuary hold on this city. I'm calling for the mayor to do a freeze on what we call a sanctuary disaster. We're totally upset. We're dismantled. Our mind is discombobulated that you will give. It's unheard of. Just imagine you at work and your boss give a blank check of $51 million to 500 people for 30 days. That business would be out of business.
Right. And this could backfire politically on the Democrat Party. I think it's really an interesting, this is a vote they take for granted, the black vote, especially in urban cities like Chicago. But they're seeing this craziness and they're going, wait, what about us? We're voters. what are you doing?
Where's the money for our communities?
Yeah.
Where's our shelter? How about homeless vets, too?
Yes.
This money, and I think the point he makes about it being unaccountable and not transparent, like, we have no idea how much money is being spent on this.
Yeah.
And the states don't have it. Illinois is bankrupt. California is bankrupt. The United States of America is bankrupt. We don't, and yet we're printing this money and handing it to people and to NGOs, as you point out so often, Rachel, organizations. We have no idea how much they're getting or where they're spending it. And so good for him for speaking out. And he gets arrested for trying to showcase it.
This seems to me the inevitable end result of a society, in this case a political party, who has fomented identity politics plus endless handouts. The end result, the ultimate end result, has to be balkanization.
Yeah.
So what you'll have is constituencies and interest groups whose now interests compete with one another.
Yeah.
Right? And you've promised everyone everything.
Yeah.
And you are compassionate for everyone, except not in reality. And so what happens is your identity politics folds in on itself where these groups begin to fight. And by the way, when I say it's the end result, it will be in all cases. Here we are, it's June. You know what's going to happen? This will happen. Like this never-ending alphabet soup of constituencies, LGBTQI++ 2S, will it fold in on itself. It has to. It has to. LGB goes, what are my interests aligned? How are they interested with TQIA? You know, this here is a little window into this style of politics. Promise everything to everyone based upon their identity.
I think also the fact that he's calling for a forensic audit is really important. Going back to the NGO point, who is getting this money? And it is these NGOs. And the NGOs that are pushing this are these open border, George Soros funded type of societies that believe in this globalist idea of no borders, no citizens. This allows these global institutions to have more power, because if America doesn't have sovereignty, where does
the government to have their hands off it? They can say, well, we're letting someone else do it.
Exactly. This is really deep, and getting to the source of who is pushing these policies and who's scratching whose back. So we give the NGOs money, then the NGOs give the politicians money, and in the end, who benefits? Probably somebody up in Brussels, part of this globalist, bureaucracy that ultimately wants to run our country instead of our citizens.
Yes, somebody's making a lot of money on it for sure.